Welcome to Macrocode. If you are new to this channel, consider subscribing. So here is where we build real systems and we actually make use of practical solutions and provide real world scenarios. So if you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So on today's video, just to walk you through for those who are new to this channel, so we have our program.cs. So on our program.cs, we have our application DB context here. We have our identity, application user, then application role. So yesterday, we were able to extend some of the application user details. So you can see here, we have our identity user. We have the first name, middle name, last name, address, and even ethnicity, country, and created on. Now, we also extended our application role. We have the description, created on, and you can see here we have our identity role. So then we created our model, that is our controller for users. So you can see here we have our users controller, and you are able to provide some data, that is users details. So on today's video, I want us to do some things. So I want us to create the user, information, and also try to add roles. So then we were able to add our users view. So this is our razor. So you can see this is the users list. If we just launch our app, we should be able to see now we have our list of users that are there, that are actually from the database. So for those who are new, we've been able to link this to SQL Server. So if you go to app settings, you'll see our app settings. So let's just go back there. So you'll see this is our app settings. We have our database and we have our server. So if you are connected to if you want to use the IP address, then you can use the IP address and the port. Then that will take you directly to the database. Now, if you just go to our application, you can see this is our application. We just launched, so nothing has changed. So if you go to system users, so home, so this is our home. Then for system users, if you click system users, then you'll see a list of users. So this is our list of users. So we haven't changed anything. So we have the username, email address, first name, middle name, last name, address, created on, and actions. Now, what I want us to do now is I want us to go back to our application. Then we can create. So we need to create users. So I'll just add a new razor. I'll just create here, add new page, then view. Then I'll call this add. Then I can say this is create. So if you press enter, then it will have our create razor page. So you can just copy this list and you can paste it here. But I'll now remove. So let me remove from here. I'll remove this. So you can say here create user. So this is create user. So I'll zoom. So we have here create user. Now this is our create a user. So what I want us to do for our view model, so you can see here we have our view model. So I want us to have our model. So I'll just come here, and as you can see here, we have an application user. So I want us to create a user. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to have the fields. So we need to have the fields that we are going to now create our user. So there are things that we need to do here. So the first thing is we need, so here I'll just say form. Then I can say SP action. Then I can say here, we'll have our action called create. Then I close our form. Then inside here, I can say, so this is our form. So inside here, you can see, maybe let me just add those. So you can see here, we have the div class form group. So, but before that, maybe I can add something here. I can say div plus, then I can do here row. This is fine. I think I can just leave it as it is. And here I can add call MD6. So I can do this. Then I can have it on all these sections. I just want us to add a user, to create a user to our database. So the first thing that we need to do is, you can see here we have our username. So I'll create a view model. So here I'll just come here on view models, and I'll create another view model called let me call it user application user view model. So that, then on our model, I'll copy some of the fields that we have here. I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. So that is it. So these are the fields that I have. So mostly in our users, we'll have email address. I'll also add some properties here and say email address. So let me just check on the database some of the fields that we need. So if you check on our database, on our application ASP.NET users, so you realize these are some of the fields that are there. So we have the username, so we need this on our view model. So I'll just come here and say public. Phone number, that's fine. You can do your public string. We have username. So that's fine. So we have username, email, phone number. Then we have address. And these are some of the fields that we extended. So if you are new to this channel and you haven't watched our previous video, please consider subscribing and also watch previous video. So we've added these two. Then we also need to add a password. We can say here password. We can say here password. So password. So then once we have that, then we can come here on our create and we can add our model here. So you can see we have the username. So this one, if I go to our view model, we can actually have our display name here. Then we can say this is email address. That's our email address. Then you can do the same for the others. That is the phone number. And copy this here. And say here this is phone number. Then we can also do here, so we can remove this. We can also do here username. So I'll just, let me zoom it. We can say this is username. There we go. So I'll remove this. I'll also paste this here. First name. I'll paste this here. Middle name. Then I'll also have your last name. I'll also have your address. Then we can also have ethnicity name. Let's say this is ethnicity. I'll also have, so this is what will be displayed. You can say your country name. Then we can have this as a password. And say password. Then I can come here and say created on. So this will be created on. So we now have our fields here. So if you go to our actions, remember this is our actions that we just added, our razor. So here we can say this is email address. We have this email address, this is email address. Then you can have first name, you can see here first name, middle name, last name, address. Then you can add another one. So you can add here. So you need to confirm that all the fields here, we have email, phone number. Have we added phone number? So just confirm we don't have it, so we can add it here. You can add this here. Then you can also come here and say, let's close this. So check, we have phone number, username, middle name, last name, address. So we need ethnicity. So we go back here. We can have ethnicity here. Then we can also have, so if we check our model, country, we can have here country. Then we can also have a password. We can say this is password. We can have this is password. Then I think we've covered all the fields. So as you can see, that's fine. So as you can see, then we have our create. So you can say here, create user. So this is our button to actually submit these details. So you can see here, we have our create action and we have our user here. So if you go to our controller, we don't have any, so we only have action. So we need to have the create action here on our controller. So the first thing that we need to do, we need to create this. And here we can decorate this. We say this is HTTP get. Then we can copy this and have another one here. Then we can say this is HTTP post. So this is the post. Then we can say this is create. So the name here should be equal to the result view here that you have. And remember, the action that we have here is actually create. So that's what we need to ensure that it matches what we have here. Then our view model, we need our model. So the model that we'll be having is application user. So we'll just go back to our users. Then this is the model that we are expecting. Now, since we have this, then we need to create our user. So the first thing that we need to say is we can say here, we can say variable. You can see we have variable user. This is application user. So we need to map it. So we need to map transfer the values from our view model to our model, which is application user. So we are assigning username to this, email to this, phone number to this, first name to this, middle name, last name, address, and we can also do, so let me just remove this. We can do here each other. Let's just confirm that email address, phone number, username, first name, address, ethnicity. Let's confirm if you have ethnicity. Should be equals to bm dot ethnicity. Then we can do country, created on, and that is it. So I think those are some of the fields that we have. So you can see here, we have all these fields here. So for the created on, we've added that. So we need to now create the user. So how do we create that? So you can see here we are saying result is equals to user manager. User manager, we declared it here and we have it here. So we say this is what we are using to manage details about the identity users. So here we have user manager dot create. Then you see we are using user. User is what we've provided here. Then we pass the password. So you can see create a sync requires two things. It requires the specified user that needs to be created and the password. So the password here is what we are going to, that is what we've provided. So if we create that, then you can actually check, you check if the result is success. So that is, if the user has been created, then it will redirect back to index. So else we retain the page there. Now, if you go to index page, this is what our index page looks like. So you can introduce an action. So I'll just say, if we do this, it will propose for us. You can see here we have a class button btn primary, then create, then we say create a user. So if we try to launch this, we should be able to now have the page to create a user. So simple as that. So if you're new to this channel and you are watching our video, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So you notice 90% of you guys are watching our videos and you haven't subscribed. So if you're one of them, consider subscribing and also like the video. Now, As you can see, we have our, we've launched our app, and here we have system users. So if we click system users, then it will take us to the list of users that we have. And you can see it has added a green button at the top. So that green button is what we actually we want to see how it works. So we click create. So you can see it has gone to create, but it is not giving us the page. So what is the issue here? So if you go here, let's just go back to users. So our users, we have our create. We only have, so what we've done, we've only created the post action, but we also need the get action. So what we need to do, we just need here, and we need to say, we need to do this. So I'll copy that. So we need two actions. We need the post and the get. So here I'll just remove this, and here I can say att get. Then here I'll return view. So I'll say return view. So that is it. Then if we do that, then we should be good. So we have two actions here. So let me zoom, stop our app so that you see. So we have this, which is create, which will give us the page. Then this post that will submit our data. So let's just launch and see the result. So we notice 90% of you guys are watching our videos and you haven't subscribed. So if you're one of them, please ensure you're subscribing and also like the video. So here we have system users. So if I click system users, so you can see I have my details about the user here. So if I click create user, you can see I have my form now. I have the username, email address, first name, middle name, last name. And there's one thing that you need to note. You see these details that we are displaying here is actually what we decorated, and it is part of what we have on our view model. So you see this? So this is what we have there. So that's what we do. So here, as you can see here, we have the username. So I want us to ensure this is not in a single row. You see here we have one row, but I want this to be in two columns. So if I just come to our app on create action, then I can say this is I'll do here div class, then I can do here row. So if I do that, then I close this and I take this, close it down here and close it here. So if I just do that, update our app, then we should be having some, so you see, we are now having some changes. So we have the username, first name, middle name, last name, address, phone number, a country, and even the password. So I just want us to create a user for the first time. So we can say here, we say here or you can say here macro streaming. So you can say here macro streaming. Then this is our username. Or you can call it macro admin, macro administrator. Then we can have here, we say macro test. We call this macro test at gmail.com. Then we say this is admin, say macro, then a code. Then we just put in some address, we put in some phone number, we say ethnicity, then password. So I'll put in a password. So I'll say this is my password. So let me just say here. Let me just do something like that. Now, if I click on this button, so let's put a breakpoint. So if let's go to our users, then let's put a breakpoint. So if I just come there and do here create, so you can see we have our breakpoint. This is our breakpoint. Then here we have our list. You can see this is the list of data that we have. We have the address, country, created on, email address, ethnicity. So that if we proceed up to this particular point, then you can see we have our password and we have our user here. So these are the details that we have. So if we just proceed and say create, we assume this should actually create the data now. So you can see succeeded is true. So that means our data has been created. And you can see here we have our macro. So our first details had no these first name, middle name, last name, and even the address. But now we have these details. So in our application now we can create users. So if you go to the database and try to rerun, so you realize that now we have users with ethnicity, a first name, middle name, and last name, even country, and that. Now, if we come to our app, you realize one thing. When we were typing the password here, if we just click create, here when you type the password, it is visible. So, and also for the phone number, you can even type the characters. So there are some validations that you can actually do to prevent this. So if you go to our app, I'll just go to our create. Then here I can say here type. Then I can say password. So that it will actually mask when we are typing. Then for the phone number, we can say here type, and we only need numbers. So that's what we need to do. So if I just update our app, then we should be able to have our form. So let's create another. You can say administrator. We say this is admin@gmail.com. Then you can say this is admin. You can say this is administrator. Then you can say this is macro. Then our address, you can provide our address, our phone number. So you cannot now type characters, we can type in phone numbers. Then ethnicity, then you can say country, provide our country. Then our password now, you can see when we are typing now, our password is masked. So if I just click create, you can realize that now it hits our breakpoint. And here we can see we have our details. So you can see these are some of the details that we just provided, email and all this. Then if I just proceed, we have our password here, our admin. So this is how you check if your data is being submitted as you want. So if I proceed, there we go. So you can see we now have our administrator, Gmail, admin, and we have our data. And if you go to the database on SPNet users, then you'll get the data there. So there are some information that you can actually change. For example, here we have the email confirmed. So because we don't have the email sender, so for currently we'll just set it to true, just to ensure that everyone has confirmed their password. Then for number also we say confirmed. You can do here true. So there's one thing that you've noticed. So when we pass our user our password here, it doesn't sit on the database as it is. So you can see here our password is actually masked. So you don't have to think how you are going to mask your password and how you are going to do all those. So this has already been done, and you can proceed nicely without any issues. So let's create one user, then we proceed to create our roles. So I'll just create another user. So I'll just proceed and create another user. So you can engage us on the chat, tell us where you are watching from, and we should be good to go. So tell us where you are watching us from. Then that will help us to engage. So in case you have any question, you can also comment down below and we'll be happy to answer. So if you go to users, I'll create another user here. I'll say this is administrator, and I can say here admin, main. I'll say main admin. Can do here at gmail.com. Then I can say this is macro code. I say streaming. Then here we'll say this is the address, our phone number. This is our phone number. ethnicity, then we can put in our password here. So I'll just say that is our password. So if I click create, we realize we have all the data here, so you can see. Then if you proceed, then we have our password. So you can see here, you can see the password. But when you click on this particular data and proceed, our details will be saved and it will redirect us back to the, let's just confirm, is there something went wrong? So let me just check, main, so you'll say this is main. If we provide the password and say create, let's check what is wrong. So if we proceeded, you can see this was successful. So I think that's fine. So there's one thing also that you need to check so that you don't you don't have the same usernames. So that will also be validated. So I think that is it. So what I want us to do now, so let's just go to our app. I want us to change our button. For the index, we can say this is, can do here div plus row. Then I can say, let me just have my button here. And can have this as call md do here 6. So I'll have my button there. So if I refresh this, let's just check our button. So you can see we have our button here, but we are going to add a new UI. So don't worry about this. So the next thing that I want us to do now, we've been able to create our users. As you can see, we have our users here, and all this is the data that is created. So I want us to create roles. So the first thing is I want us to add our controller. So we are going to add an empty controller, and then we are going to call these roles. Then we'll just remove that. If I just add that, then we'll be having our roles controller. But now we need a constructor. We'll just do that. Then we have our roles. So what we had on our, so we can copy some of the things that we had on our users controller. And the first things that we have is actually application DB context, our roles manager, sign-in manager, and users manager. So I'll just copy these three, or even I can just copy all this, then go back to our roles, then replace this here, but now I can replace this here. So we now have our roles manager. So on users, we were using what we call user manager. So I don't think we need even role manager here. So we can remove these two. So we just remain with the users manager because that's what we've been using to create users. So let me just, in case we need it, I think we can add it. But for now, let's just retain our user manager. Then if we go to roles, we just need the roles manager. We can remove the users manager. We need the roles manager and the application DB context. So I'll remove the others. We just retain the user, that is the roles manager. So as you can see, we now have our roles controller, and this is index. Now I want us to create a roles folder. So we are using identity. So don't you guys need to know that. So we are going here to create a folder. So I'll create a folder called roles. Then I'll also put in a list. So I'll just put in index razor page. So that is a razor, an empty one. So I'll just put in there and create it. So you can see we now have an empty page. So we don't have anything. So remember we created yesterday an index page for users. So this is how it looks like. So instead of creating all this code, so you can actually copy. If you don't have it, you can just type it. But for now, I'll just borrow because I had done some work on it. So I'll just go to roles and I'll paste it here. Then now I have my, you see, I have my users view model. So for me, I'll also create another view model called, I can call it roles. I'll call these roles. I'll call these roles view model. So this is my roles view model. And now I'll need this. I'll need the application role then a list of roles, because you're going to add, we can retrieve a list of roles or even a single role. So you need to import this using models, because remember we changed our identity role and we inherited here, we modified it and added this few information. So you need to ensure you have that. Now for our index page for roles, we are going to change this to now roles view model. So we now have our roles view model. Then this, our title will be roles. Then here we will say create new role. So we are creating roles now. So for our roles, if you go to our database, on our ASP.NET roles, we have, so these are some of the fields that we have. We have the ID, name, normalized name, concurrency stamp, creation on, and description. So those are some of the details that we will want to see. So I'll just come to our index page. I can say, we can even display the ID. It doesn't harm. You can have the ID, then you can say here, this is user name. I'll just have my username here. Then here I'll say description. I'll put in the description. Then this is actually should be role name. You can say role name. Then we have so we have the name. Then you can have the description and normalized name. So let's have maybe normalized name. Then you can have the description. You can have the description. Then the next thing is created on. So I'll just remove this. So we have our created on. So we have our created on. Then here we have our, so we can use our roles. So for the controllers that we have, these controllers that we are creating here, these are actually controllers for managing roles and for managing users. The reason as to why I'm creating this is because we are going to change our application to, this will be managed only from the admin panel. And we'll be having roles that manages, that creates users and even creates, that creates roles. So I've just created two controllers. That is the roles controller. This is where we'll be creating roles, managing all roles. And also we have users where we'll be creating users. So these controllers that you see here, this is a user controller that gives us the list of users. So you can see here we are retrieving users. We have create, which we are actually creating user details. So I think, sorry if I'm going too fast. So I think that's clear now. So for the controllers that we've just created, there are only two. We have the users and the roles, mainly for creating users and managing roles. So if we go back to our index now, we have our roles view model. So we have create new role. So this is a button. Then we have the ID. So we are retrieving the list of roles from the database. So we have the role name, normalized name, description, created on, and the actions. So then here I loop through a list of roles. Then I'll display the ID here. So I'll just display the ID. Then the role name, I'll use the name. This is from the database. Then normalized, I'll also say normalized name. Then we have description, I'll also display here description. Then for created on, I'll have here my created on. Then I'll just remove this. So I'll have now my details there. So you can see now I have my ID, name, normalized name, description, and created on. All those are details from ASP.NET roles table. So that is what we are trying to display. So if you're watching our videos until this particular point and you haven't subscribed, just do us a favor and subscribe, which actually helps us to create more of these series. So I think, so we've created our list and we should now be able to display and see if the list is being seen. So how do we do that? Let's just go to our shared layout. On our shared layout, we realize that we have these links. So we have ASP.NET users. This is our link. This is the link of privacy, and this is home. We can just duplicate this and now put in our, so that you're able to access the list of roles. So I'll just come here and say our controller name is roles. Then we are displaying the index page, and this is system roles. So if I just proceed, remember we don't have any role in our database. So we should not be expecting any list of data, but we are going to create this list of records. So let's just launch our app and see. If we go back here, we can see we have now our home system users. Our system users, you can see the list of users that we have. And then we have, we now have our system roles, which we just provided. So what we are going to do now is we need to go to system roles. And as you can see, we have an error. So what is the issue here? So we need to display this model.roles is actually null. So we did something on users. So as you can see on the list here, we need to provide this list here. So we can just go back to our roles, and you can see we have our index. We need to have our view model. So our index page is expecting roles view model. What we need to do on roles controller, we just provide our roles view model. Then we'll say this is view model. Then we need to pull the list of records from the database, and you can see here we will get the list. That is, we assign the list of vm.roles. Then we use context.roles.list. But for me, as I said, I want us to ensure that whenever we are doing this, we make this async. So we need to make this async. It's a good practice. So we just do here task, then action results. Then I'll just say this is index. Then here we'll do await. Then we say context underscore context roles. Then here we'll do to list async. So here we'll say to list async. Then here we should be expecting to return our view with our view model. So this is what we need. So if we now launch our app, then we can even decorate this with att get. Sorry, I will say this is att get. So that is it. So we'll now have our index. So if I just launch this particular application, then we should be able to get the list of roles. So if you're watching our video until this particular point and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So as you can see, we now have our application. So if we go to system roles, we should be able to see a blank list of roles. So you can see the ID, role name, normalized name, description, created on, and action. So, but we now need to add. So you can see our list is empty. We now need to add the roles. So how do we do that? So let's just go back to our app. We need to create a create action, that is razor page. So I'll just create an empty razor page. Then here I'll add new. Then I can say this is create. So I'll press enter, and we have our empty page. So we don't have anything. So we can borrow from what we had done for the users. So you can see for the users, we had a create page, and all these fields were provided. So I can just borrow from this, go to our roles, but for the roles we don't have many details that we are going to add. So you're assuming it is actually the name and the description. So the created one is timestamp, and this is automatically added by the system, by the method. So you'll be able to see that. So for the roles, I'll say create role. Then here I'll provide here and say we have, so here I'll say application. So for we had created our roles view model. So you can see this is our view model. So I can copy some data. So you see this, I'll come on our roles view model and I can paste it here. So I'll just paste this here as well. Then we can decorate this. We can say here display. So we can say here display name. That is the role name. Then you can also have this as created on. created on. So this is my view model. So I have the description created on, then I have my application role and the list of roles. So if I go back to our created on, I'll just use these. I'll say this is we need to use this particular view model. So I'll just copy this here, and here I'll say the name. I'll provide the name of the role. So I'll just, where is it? Name. Is it the name? I'll just go back here. Role. I'll also add the name. So let me just add it here. I'll say name. This is role description. Then I can say a role name. So if I just come here, I'll now add the role name. Then I'll also add the description. So those will be my two things that I will provide. So that's simple for the role. So I'll just remove the others. I don't need them. I'm adding only two things for roles: the name of the role and the description of the role. Then I'll say create role. So this is my action. So you can see roles view model. This is create role. Then I have my name. Then I also have my description. So if I go back to roles controller, then we need to provide now some information. So we need to have our actions. So I'll provide the action. So for get, and that is the create. So you can see I have the create action for our roles. So this is the role. So I'll just then the next thing that we need also on the roles controller is the post. So you can see we have action, post controller. Then it can provide for us these particular details. So you can see here. Let me just I'm making use of autocomplete. So you can see we have our HTTP get, we have create, return view. Then HTTP post, we have here create. We are expecting the roles view model. Then our application role, what we just did on users, we do here role, we assign the name here, description. Then created on, we assign it the timestamp. Then you also check the results. So we provide the result. Role manager, we are now using the role manager. Then we create the role, we provide the role. If it succeeded, then we do that. So if there is an error, then we'll just provide the errors. Now, let me just go back to our application. So let's just launch it and see if everything is okay. So I'll go to our app. Then as you can see, we have our application. This is our app. We now have system roles. So if I just click on it, I'll see the system roles. We have this list, but we haven't created anything. So I'll just proceed and click create new. You can see we have now our role name and the role description. So what do you need to provide? We just need to provide the role name. So I'll say this is administrator. I'll say administrator. Then this is I'll say this is so this is the system administrator. So we are creating roles. So if I click on add, we can put in a breakpoint on our create. So let me just put in here, I put a breakpoint here. So if I proceed and say create, you realize that we have a breakpoint here. So if I just hover, you'll see I have my description. This is the system administrator and the name is administrator. So if I proceed to this particular point, I'll have my role name. This is my role name. So you can see the details that it has been provided. We have the administrator. This is system administrator, created on, and timestamp. So if I proceed, if it succeeded, then it will give us true. Then the errors are 0. So if I proceed, that means our application has been created and we now have a new role in the system. So you can see our ID, which is a GUID, then an administrator, then this is the normalized name, then this is the description, and this is the timestamp. So if we go to the system, then we'll get now our first role in the system created. So that is the first thing that we need to do. So for application, we've been actually checking and ensuring that we are going to start from just the basic level of creating the users and even the roles. So if you go to our app again, we can create a new role. You can say here finance manager. Let's see here, manager. Then here we can say this is the finance manager. So if I just click create, then you have our breakpoint, and you can see we have these options. I'll just proceed, and I say here update. So you can see we now have our new roles. So we can create another role. We say here ICT officer. You can say this is the ICT officer. So these are roles. So I'll just I'll create this, then I'll create one more, then we can proceed. So I'll create software developer. So you can say this is the software developer. So if I click on it, so you can see we now have our roles. So here on the buttons, you can add the edits and delete. So let me just, we can add them. So on these particular actions, so you can say maybe here, this is edit. You can do here delete, then detail. You can say view. But then here we can have now the various buttons. So that is we need to have the various buttons for viewing, deleting, and even editing. So what I want us to do, is to ensure that we are going to add another template. So we are not going to add this particular page. So I'll just do here. For now, let me just add it. But we are going to add an admin template. So if you want to see how that admin template looks like, please ensure that you subscribe, like the video, and also comment down below. So here I'll just say class, and I'll do here btn. Then I can say primary. So this is my edit. So I'll copy this. I'll have it here. So you can say delete. You can say here danger. You can say this is delete. And let me just close this. So then we have here view. You can say this is secondary. Then you can say view. So we now have the buttons. So let me just do that. So the same buttons, we can have them on our users view. I'll just go there, and I can also update it. So here we can have this. Then you can also change this to view. It was edit. Then you can have here delete. Then you can say here we have a view. So if I just update our app, I hope it will. So you can see how it looks like. So we now have our buttons for edit, delete, and view. But now I think that's one thing that we've done. So we are not going to add more on users. I think we've been able to see how you create system users. And so there's one thing that I want us to do now. So remember, on our app, if we go to our areas and the identity pages, we don't have anything here. So I want us to add the pages. That is the pages. So I'll say new item. So then let me just say here scaffold. Come here and say new, then new scaffolded item, then come and say identity. So choose here identity. So if we just add identity, So there are certain pages that we'll be able to get. That is mainly for identity, for creating users, registering, updating, confirmation of the email, and all those. So as you can see, it will give us a pop-up, and these are some of the details that we have. So you can see we have the account for confirm email change, forgot password, login with two-factor authentication, change password. So all these pages. So for me, I'll just click on it and say override all files. Then DB context, I'll choose my application DB context. And once we have that, I'll just click on add. So what you do there is, let me just repeat this process so that you're able to understand. I'll click on identity under areas. I click, then add new. Then we have something we call new scaffolded item. So I'll just click on that. Then once I click on new scaffolded item, I'll choose on this list, I'll choose identity. Then I'll click on the identity. Then once I click on identity, it will give me a list of pages that I can add to my project. So let's just wait. So until this particular point, if you are watching our streaming, guys, and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So you can give the video a thumbs up and always turn on the notification so that whenever we upload new video, you get updated. So as you can see, we have our accounts pages here. So these are all pages that we have. So I'll just go to application DB context, then I can click on add. So all those pages will be added, and we should be able now to update. So, but there is one thing that we are going to ensure that we do. It will now come with the identity user. But remember, we changed our model to application user. So we need to change all those sections to reflect application user. So it's scaffold, so that it is actually generating all those pages that we've just selected. And once it's done, then we should be able to see. So you can see it has completed. You can see support for ASP.NET Core Identity was added to your project. And as you can see, we have here a folder called account. So another folder has been created called account, and it has all these pages that we just selected. So that means it has added all these particular pages that you see here. So if we start from manage, you see we have the manage, we have manage nav, and it is actually having our application user. I think it has actually used our application user, which is a good thing. So if we go to view imports, change password, so you can see that even has the sections for you to change password, delete personal data. We have disable two-factor authentication, download personalized data, email. We have enable authentication. We have external logins, index recovery. Then you also have, let's just check the normal one, which is a login. You can see our login here. We have our login with two-factor, register. We have our register, we have our register confirmation, set password. So we just launch our app now. We should be able to see how you can register a user and how to log in. You can see the scheme already exists, identity application. So here we have, let me just check. So the scheme already exists. So if we want, so let's just do something here. I want us to change something. So if you come to our view imports, we have validation. Let's just confirm all our models are okay. We have that. We have the confirmation. That's fine. Register that. That's fine. So all these details here. So I want us, before even we check on that, I want us to do some things. So we've now generated all our identity forms details. So, but before that, I want us to proceed and now add some few models. So I want us to add the models for some important models that we are going to use. So one is the user activity. So this user activity is it is going to track all the details that we are going to use. That is the user information, and it's mainly going to give us timestamp of what does what in the system. So the first details that we are going to do is we can provide public. We can say here date time. Then we say created on. I'll say created on. Then I'll get set. Then here I'll also say here string. Then created by. So for every record that is being created in the system, I want to ensure that we are able to tell who created what and when. So this created by is actually a foreign key from a different from our table. So we need to get the user IDs from this particular table that you see here. So you see these IDs, they're actually strings and they are GUIDs. That's why you see I'm using here string. But here, this is a foreign key, and to tell our application it's a foreign key, we have to do this. So we have to give it this way. So this, it will actually know that this is a foreign key. So this is created by. Then I want also to have here the same case, but we are now doing modified on. So if you also modify something in our database, modified on, and this is modified by. Modified by ID, then we just do the same. So instead of every model having these same details, I'm just creating them these ones. Then I'll be able to reuse them going forward. So you can say created on, created by ID, created by. This is modified on, modified by, and modified by. So this is the same user. Now I want us to create another model. So that model, I want us to create a model called system code. So system code. So this system code, I'm going to explain to you what this means. So on this system code, I want us to, this actually represents system code. The system code I'm going to store here. For example, let me just put in an example. I want, instead of coding things like gender, so we have options like male, female, and other. Instead of coding this to our application, I don't want us to go that direction of coding things to our app. So instead of coding them, I want us to create a table whereby you can manipulate and change. If anything changes, you can even add more. So that's why this system code here, I'm going to create two tables. A system, I'm going to create a table called system code, which will store the grouping. So we are going to group. So this will store the group called gender. Then I'll create another table called system code details. So this will now take the options of male, female, and this looks like an header, and this looks like a detail table. So that means you'll create a group called gender. Then you'll also tie this system code details to this system code table to store the specific details. So that will help us not to add code things. So here I'll need some important details. So I'll need the ID, which is the primary key. I'll need the code, and I can say here description. Is there any other thing that I need on this particular table? So I think I'll need mostly will be the, let me just confirm something. It will be code, description, and then I want us, remember we created a model currently called user activity. So every time you create this particular system code, you can inherit from this. So what I'm preventing is, instead of every model having this, we could have done something like this. We could have come here and tested this here. Instead of doing this for every model, because these will be repeated, so we don't have to do it. So we'll create a class, then you can inherit it. So I'll say this is ID, code, and description. Then I'll create another model now for system code details. So I'll call this system code detail. And there's one thing that you need to note. My model is actually in singular. So you see system code detail. Then I'll also need some information here. So I'll say public int ID. So it has my primary key. Then it has my system code ID. It is linking back to our header. So system code ID is our foreign key, and it is linking back to our system code, this one. So then now we'll have the code and the description. Then the next thing that I'll have here is our user activity. So you see we have our user activity. Now we've been able to have our ID, system code ID, code, and the description. The next thing once you do that is you go to our application DB context. So we need to go to our application DB context, which is under data. I'll go to DB context. Then here on our DB context, I'll just come here and created those two things. So it is telling us this, but we usually don't have to add this here. But we can now add our system code, and you can say this is system codes. So our table is in plural. So this will be system codes. Then we now have our system code detail, and this will be system code details. We now have those two tables. So we've added here because we are going to do what we call migration. So we are going to do a migration, and we are going to have these changes reflected to our database. So after we have done this, there are two important commands that we need to run. I'll just come to tools, NuGet package manager console. Then here I'll just say here add migration. So this will generate kind of SQL statements that we can actually run into the database and update our database. So I'll just say this is system code details. So so you have the add migration, which is a command, then you give it the name of the migration. So then you just press enter. So as that runs, so if everything goes well, it will generate for us a migration file with all the statements that we have. So you can see it has generated a migration file. Then this file, it has all the changes that we need in the database. So what we need to do now, which you can check here, we have alter table, we have SPNet users, then we have create table, we have system codes. It is going to create. So you see create table, the name of the table is system codes. Then the columns, the ID, description, created on, created by, ID, modified on, modified on and by. Then we have these particular details. So it will create all those tables. Now, to update those changes to our database, currently we don't have anything on we don't have any table like that in our database. So as you can check, so we don't have anything like that on our database. So to proceed, I'll just come here and say update database. So I'll just press update database, and then it will actually now create those tables, those two tables, the system code and system code details in our database. So we have some issues in our database. So you can see alter table column name failed because one or more objects access this column. So we have some changes that have been updated here, and we don't need them. So I think these are some of them. So let me just alter this. These are logins. Yeah. So just remove those. Drop this, and also this one. I'll just remove this too. Yes. So there we go. I have my system codes, Then all these details, I just want to update these changes. So if I come here and remove that, then I can do update database. Then our database, the two databases will be created. I mean the tables will be created with those commands. So I think it's still giving us an error. It says, so it says introducing foreign key constraint on table may cause cyclic or multiple cascade paths. So I want us to address this particular issue. So how do we address that? So what we need to do, we need to go to our application DB context. So you can see here. Then I want us to do something here. So I'll say protected. Say here protected. Protected. Then you can see it is giving us this on model create. And you can see customize the ASP.NET identity model and override the defaults if needed. So you can also rename the identity models, but for me, I don't want that. What I want is, I want us to do something. I want us to do something called for each. Then here, I'll say relationship in builder.get entities, select many, get foreign keys, delete behavior, and restrict. So if I just do this, I'll go back here and I can try to run my app to update my database. So we should be able to have our database tables created. You see here it's saying an error generated. The model has pending changes, add before updating. Okay, so let me just remove migration. So we can remove migration by doing remove migration. So it will remove the latest migration that we just added. So once that is succeeded, so see it has removed. So I can now add the migration again. So I'll add the migration because we made changes to our application DB context. So once that is done, so let's just wait. So it has created our migrations. You can see here we have our ASP.NET roles, our tokens. So all these changes here, let me try to update. We see if it will update. Update database. So if it doesn't update, then we'll make some few changes. So there we go. Yes, so it has given us an error about the ASP.NET tokens. So I just want us to remove anything that is not related to this. I'll just remove this. I'll remove up to here. So just remove all this. So you have the system codes, retain those ones, identity, user roles, fine. I'll also remove the claims. I'll remove this up to here. So then we are just remain with the system code details. I don't need this one. I don't need this one. Just updating here. So there we go. Same case. Same case here. Yeah, I don't need this one. So I can remove that. Then if you do that, then let's update our database again. So we'll just do here update database. Then our database, we want to create the new tables. I think we missed something. Yeah, I think we left some things here, so it might not run. Yes, we left some things. So that means we need to remove this one, ASP.NET users, user claims, roles, until this particular point. We just need these ones based on the tables that we just created. So I'll just update database. Then our database will be, our tables will be created, and then we should be able to proceed. So if you don't see any red line here, that means our all the changes as worked. You can see we have here create table. You can see we have this create table name, system codes, and it is actually adding even the constraint and even foreign keys. So if you copy this and you go to the database, you'll see it is actually a SQL statement. So that is being done. So we have here system codes, we have the identity, which is the ID, we have the code, description, created on, created by, and you can see even setting the primary key, all those details. These are foreign key. You can see it's referencing the SPNet users. So all our users should be actually part of the users table. So that should not worry you. So now, if you go to our database and refresh, we should get some new tables. So you can see here we have our system code. We have our system codes. We just created it. You see, we have these system codes, and then we have our system code details as well. So we have all these details here. So you can imagine we've now created the most important two tables that we are going to use. Now, if you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed until this particular point, just do us a favor by subscribing, like the video, and also give us a thumbs up. Now, if you go to, I want us now to do a very easy thing, how we can create CRUD. So we can create the CRUD for this table. You see these two tables, the system codes details and system codes. We can create a CRUD very easily right now. So what I want us to do, right click on our controllers, then add, then come and say new scaffolded item. I'll just click on new scaffolded item, then go to MVC, then go to controllers, then on controllers, select MVC controller with views using entity framework core. So if I select that, it will give me a pop-up. So on this pop-up, I'll select the model. So the first model that I want us is our system code. So you'll select the model. Then you also select the application DB context. Then it will give you the name of the controller. So you can see the name of the controller is system codes controller. So that's fine. So if I just click OK, it will generate for me all the CRUD options. That is create, delete, view, and even some validation checks. Now, if that's let's just give it some time. And as you can see, it has actually generated our code. So you can see get, it has given us the get, where we'll be able to retrieve the list of records. And it has done some very important things, which we'll actually discuss here. What you see here as .include. Then we have here the list. So this is the list of system codes. We have the details. We have the create. We also have, you can see here the post. So you'll be able to go through this particular, what it has actually generated. So you can imagine how long it will take you to write all this code. So it has actually generated for us in a very simple way. And not just the controller. If you go to our views section, you realize there's a new folder that has come up, which is called system codes. And it has all our pages. We have the create, the one we were creating manually. So going forward, we'll not now be creating things manually. We'll be scaffolding and moving forward and trying to update some changes and also trying to improve them. You can see here we have our create, we have the code, description, created on, created by. Then we have the delete, we have the details, we have the edit, and we also have the index. Then, so we can do the same for system code details. I'll just click here. Then new scaffolded item, MVC controller with views using entity framework core. Then I can select our model, which is system code detail. Then it will give us a controller name called system code details. So I'll just click on add. Then it will do the same. So it will generate for us the system code details controller and also the views. So we notice 90% of you guys are watching our videos and you haven't subscribed. So if you're one of them, please consider subscribing, like the video, and also comment down below. So you can realize that you can see we now have our system code details controller. So we have our index page, we have our details page, we also have our create, we have all this. So you can imagine all this code has been generated with just like 2 clicks. And this one, it could take you a lot of time to write this particular kind of code. Then if you also check on the views, we have the system code details, we have the create. So you can imagine typing all this. Then we have the delete, we have the details, we have the edit. So these are all razor pages. Then you have the index. So the index that we created manually, we now have it. So I think that's a simple way. So I want us to leave it there for today. So if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing.